our studio.
Oh, thank you.
What is your name?
Yeah, my name is Edgar David. Yeah, those who know me well call me as the voice of the Congolese diaspora or the African spirit revivalist. To them all watching me right now, I send my deepest regards to them.
Yeah, okay, we prepare a list of questions that we ask a leader come to our studio and have an idea about Africa.
Oh, okay.
So I'll have a list of questions that we're asking you, prepare for you. Where are you from again?
I am from the Democratic Republic of Congo. I'm an African.
And how long have you been living in the Congo Republic?
Yeah, I've lived in the Democratic Republic of Congo since my childhood for more than 14 years and in the diaspora for more than 9 years.
So how long have you been in the U.S.?
I've been in the U.S. for more than 4 years now, and I'm still going.
What are your goals as a young man?
Yeah, as a young man, I want to achieve the highest level of education that I can afford, especially in a country that offers opportunities to young men. And I want to teach and impact lives, as well as use my creativity to create and innovate something new that can be beneficial to our community and make our world a better place.
Okay. What are your personal goals for the Democratic Republic of Congo?
Yeah, my personal goal for the Democratic Republic of Congo is to help, and Africa in general, is to help the Democratic Republic of Congo discover its full potential and establish a system that will benefit its people and the African continent that might bring it out of poverty. And for Africa as a whole, I am into pushing for Africa to reflect the true values of the brotherhood and the sense of responsibility that Africa has got to take.
Okay, what are your fears for the Democratic Republic of Congo and Africa in general?
Yeah, in general, I greatly fear that the Congo might not realize the full potential that it has, and for the people of the Congo not realizing their roles to play in the progress of the Congolese nation. That's what I fear. If people won't step up to figure out why they are Congolese in the first place and what they need to do to bring the country out of poverty, out of chaos and misery. I think that's it. And for Africa, I greatly fear the loss of our positive values and cultures and tradition. I think Africa is portraying an image out which is not the image that's supposed to be going out for people. People think of Africa in a negative way with image of like corruption, greed, self-satisfaction and lack of responsibilities, and maybe just Africans as people who are in search for power. But that's not an image of Africa that I want Africa to represent. Personally, I want Africa to represent and to portray an image of responsibility, competence, and character.
So you see yourself as a leader?
Yeah, I am a leader.
Okay. What are your greatest success as a person and as a leader?
Oh, I can say as a person, my greatest success is being able to stay true to my values and reflect those in my communities, in any work I do, and in my everyday or daily duties. And as a leader, is being able to inspire and pioneer a new dogma called Mimocracy, which inspires people to be achievers in all fronts in whatsoever they are doing.
Do you have any role model? Who would that be?
Yeah, I have a lot of role models, apart from my spiritual leaders and academic mentors for now. I would say my mother, she's really a good role model for me because she has showed me that everything is pretty much possible and she believes in me. And my dad also expects more of me. And, he has showed me that there is no limit to what a man can do unless he limits himself. Yeah.
So, how will you choose who know you best, describe you as a...
Yeah, I think people who know me best might describe me as someone who believes in himself, who loves himself and who do the best in everything he does. And I think some might say that I'm a passionate person, very outgoing, and maybe the best teammate you can have in anything. But I am very optimistic, and because I don't believe in failure. And some might even say I'm an initiator, a creator, a motivator, a big dreamer. Yeah, in short, some people, give me nicknames like the future in person. I don't know what they mean, but that's great. I believe, I was born to mark my time and to inspire others to do great things.
I hear about Mimocracy.
Yes.
Who are the Mimocrats?
Yeah, the Mimocrat are a group of individuals who are very passionate and motivated, who strive to represent the true values of integrity in everything they do. So they believe in promoting values of competence, honesty, and progress, which we think can make our community a better place.
Are you a Mimocrat?
Yes, I am.
What makes you different from, and why?
It's the drive and the spirit of transparency that I have in elucidating my ideas, in looking for ways we can solutions the problem, especially me as an African man, a way I can inspire other African men to bring our thought together to solution the problem that has been a struggle for our people back home.
So what is Mimocracy?
Yeah, Mimocracy is a new doctrine, as we say, and we define it as an art of behaving with integrity. It is a way of living that makes you think of yourself as valuable as the community you find yourself in. So you pretty much see yourself as an agent of peace, an agent of progress, an agent that benefit the community rather than being a liability.
So how is Mimocracy different from other doctrines like democracy, aristocracy, monarchy, and others?
Yeah, I think all those doctrines like democracy and aristocracy and maybe monarchy, it tends to favor some sort of other individual, a group of people. But Mimocracy is more of like a task-driven system whereby people are doing these things based on a generous cause to make the world a better place, not to get rich so that we can oppress others, not to accumulate wealth for ourselves while others are like dying and lacking. Mimocracy is all about creating opportunities and creating ways whereby anyone can be an inspiration and can be an agent of peace and motivation for others.
So who do you think will benefit more from this doctrine
of Mimocracy? Yeah, I think talking of Mimocracy and being a doctrine of basically on integrity, I think the African community will benefit more from the Mimocratic dogma, because as you see, Africa today is suffering from a chronic disease and defect of corruption, of self-satisfaction, of greed, of like lust for power, and all these things. And all these things can only be eradicated and can only be solved by introducing a sense of integrity, whereby the mindset of people is set to do work with honesty.
So how do you think Africa will benefit from that doctrine, democracy?
Yeah, I think establishing a platform of accountability of oneself and a system whereby people are sure they want to work for others and not for themselves will help eradicate the corruption, the greed, and the self-satisfaction that many African leaders and African mentors are portraying outside.
So what's your expectation for African diaspora in regard to democracy?
I expect the African diaspora to love the doctrine, to love the idea, because it is something that Africa has been waiting for, and I believe this is something that many people have thought of but couldn't find a way of expressing it or even making it real. I believe Africa, being a continent that has been raped with corruption, that has struggled with all this chaos, can really benefit from having a system which puts the right people at the right place.
And question, do you consider yourself as an active African in the diaspora?
Yeah, yes. In fact, I believe I'm an active member in the African diaspora because I live every day to represent the best of Africa, to show its true value and to see the better side of Africa.
In your opinion, what do you think Africa needs to move forward?
I think Africa needs to establish a system of progress that will be autonomous, that will be independent of anyone, so that leaders can come in and go out, and the country will still move forward and the continent will still move forward. A system that stands forever for generations to come, which they can adapt to and even try to innovate.
Your opinion also, what do you think the Democratic Republic of Congo needs to move forward?
I think particularly the Democratic Republic of Congo, my country, need to take on its own responsibilities, to encourage competence and to be independent, not to depend upon other people, to establish its own governance for a brighter future that will benefit its citizens and the people that have given their lives to ensure that Congo is a better place.
So you have a solution for problem. How do you think your solution will apply to a problem that is your list?
I think the solution will really apply if leaders, if those people who have the monopoly of bringing people into their position will be calling upon people with competence, not with family relations, and setting up measurement of accountability and monitor the step towards the progress of the vision that they have for the Congo.
What's your personal view of Africa in general?
In general, I think Africa has a lot more potential than we Africans know about or even think about or even hear about. I think we Africa have to discover ourselves for Africa to recover its value and its status.
And talking about the African diaspora, what's your view?
I think the African diaspora is very passive for most part, and we tend to intake information from any people, news from Africa, whether good or bad, while we don't voice out anything that is relevant about Africa or even advocate for our needs in search of a solution for Africa. I think that for that part we're not active, and that's why I'm calling upon any African in the diaspora to be active into advocating for the need of Africa and try their best to find solution to our problems.
Do you think race, history, culture will affect your doctrine?
No, not in any way that I know of, except you are telling me that integrity is a virtue purely reserved for a certain demographics. But I think we can have people with integrity in Africa just as in any other continent, and I think if it can apply to them, it can apply to us Africans as well.
So what you mean is that it will not...
It will not affect, there is no boundary to what integrity can do for people. If it works for people in the Western world, it should be able to work for people in Africa if we do our work with integrity, honesty, and competence.
Now, thinking about the doctrine of Mimocracy, what do you think brings to the African diaspora in general?
Yeah, I think Mimocracy brings about the positivity and the pride, and the pride in terms of representing Africa and the African value. It revives and awakens the African spirit that have been long sleeping. And I think it is time for all of us as Africans to step up and to speak of a positive Africa to inspire people to do more.
Do you think that Africa has shown the world all what it's capable of?
No, not really in a positive way. I think the time is coming, though, where the whole globe will know the full potential of an African man and the African culture in general. I think the journeys of the future start here with me today. And I believe if my fellow African people will join me in realizing this dream, we are not far away.
So what do you think that? What you think that
I
more to
think
show.
there is more to show for Africa, because people talk more of Africa based on the resources that it has. But I think we need to talk of Africa more of the potential that an African man and African woman can have on the society. Because resources don't run the society, people do. So we need people that will stand up and show the positive side of the African society to the whole globe and to the whole world, so that other Africans can get inspired to know that it is not only about the resources, but it's about how we use the resources for the benefit of Africa and for our people in general.
You adopting Mimocracy. How
Mm.
do you think, what do that bring to each African community in the diaspora?
I think Mimocracy brings the African spirit to positively represent a different part of Africa in the diaspora. Mimocracy generates that sense of accountability and calls upon all the communities to advocate for their problems in the diaspora and to try to generate solutions for the problem they are facing that can contribute to the progress of Africa and to their community as well.
Being from Congo,
Yes.
what do you think of Congolese community in the diaspora?
I think the Congolese community in the diaspora is partly inactive and ignorant of the challenges that the nation is facing, and some maybe lack the ways to advocate for Congo, since most of them don't really have an experience with the resources that the world associates with Congo. And I think if Congolese in the diaspora knew about the resources that Congo has, I don't think Congolese people will be sleeping. I think they will be standing up, trying to get the education they need so that they can go and put those resources into use to better the life of people in the Congo. But in terms of adaptation to lifestyles, I believe the Congolese in the diaspora have integrated themselves well in the society, and it's now just a matter of time before they start showing up how they've mastered their systems and what they can do.
Can you tell us more about the diversity among African countries?
I think that's a very difficult question, but we are so diverse as African. Africa is so diverse. In terms of languages, for example, a typical African man speaks at least 2 languages. His tribal language or his local language and an official language. In terms of culture, we got a lot of tribe. And in terms of resources and ideas, there are plenty we can say about diversity. So I think there is more diversity in Africa than what I can express with words, really. I think Africa is all about diversity, diversity of landscape, diversity of cultures, diversity of styles, diversity of values and traditions.
Well, if you were to go back to the Democratic Republic of Congo,
Yes.
what kind of advice would you take to your community?
If I was to go back to the Democratic Republic of Congo now, I will urge the community to stand up for themselves and to try as hard to be independent, to try to create jobs and establish a system of governance that enables its progress. I will also urge them not to be focusing more on the outside, but to look for things in the inside, because most of what brings about the technology out here, its source is in Africa. Its main source is in the Congo. So I think it is time for Congolese people to open their eyes, to wake up from sleeping, and to know that the resources is in their ground, it's not out there.
So, as a leader, African leader,
Yeah.
how do you intend to change the image of Africa around the globe?
I want to show the globe and all the other continents that something good can come out of Africa. I want to show that Africa has the potential to bring about leaders that will stay put to their word and do the work for their people, to bring about the success that we need and the motivation that others need in order to succeed.
Right. We are approaching the end of the interview.
All right.
Talking about African leader,
Yes.
who you have in mind?
For African leaders, pretty much I think of Patrice Lumumba and Nelson Mandela.
So, why do they common man?
I think these two individuals thought more of others than they themselves. They thought more of their people. They thought more of how they can free their people in the detriment of their own lives and even families.
So those are reasons you think this thing
Yeah, I think for Lumumba, pretty much, if we are to get into the details, his love for justice and freedom and his determination to accomplish those for his people made all the difference for me. As for Mandela, his patience and perseverance for freedom and equality is a seductive factor for me that can inspire young leaders like us to also do the same thing.
So what are your hope for African diaspora and Africa and the Democratic Republic of Congo?
Yeah, my hope for the African diaspora is for all of us in the diaspora to awaken and defend and also represent Africa in the best way possible that we can. My hope for Africa is that it discovers its true potential and live up to its expectations. And my hope for the Democratic Republic of Congo is that it becomes responsible of its own fate and take full responsibility of its resources, its people, and its government. Without that, I don't think there is any way forward.
In talking about your movement,
Yes.
Mimocracy, what is your hope for the movement, the doctrine?
For the doctrine of Mimocracy, I hope people that encounters this doctrine will quickly embrace it and work together with us to make it a successful doctrine for all, to bring about positive changes everywhere. And I also hope that the doctrine of Mimocracy will bring about the changes that have long been awaited in Africa and in other third world countries across the globe to make the earth a better place.
Talking about the Africa image,
Yes.
what kind of image do you hope to see on big screen?
In big screen, the image of Africa that I hope to see is an image of an Africa that is independent, creative, and responsible. That's the image I want to see of Africa.
Now, as you,
Yeah.
as a Mimocrat,
Yes.
how do you contribute to change?
I think I keep my fellow countrymen and fellow African motivated to represent Africa and optimistic about the future. And I also refresh and restore the African spirit wherever I meet with African and wherever people are talking about Africa, to tell the world that there is hope for Africa and we are not going back anymore. We are now moving forward towards the better, to a better Africa.
So, do you have anything to add to this interview before we end?
Yeah, I think it's a pleasure to have me on this platform of AFTV5 to speak more about the doctrine of Mimocracy, in particular how it affects the African culture and African dynamics. I really hope everyone watching at home or wherever they are will encourage and can now have the hope that Africa has young leaders that are ready to take over the world and to defend the cause for the African people. Once again, I am Edgar Musafiri, the pioneer of Mimocracy, and I invite everyone to join us in the Mimocracy dogma to make the world a better place. They can follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, on Mimocracy, Mimocracy. I repeat, Mimocracy. If you want to contact us, that's mimocracy@gmail.com, or on my personal email of +1 971 300 2726. I repeat for the slow folks, +1 971 300 2726. And as of you, Mr. Samuel Yamte, it is my pleasure to be here. As for next time, I am Mimocrat, and I believe together we can make the world a better place. So join us by becoming a Mimocrat also. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for visiting our studio.
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, you can come back anytime.
Oh, yeah.